This is the story of Kelvin 50 Cent Darnell Martin, born July 24th, 1964 in the South Bronx, New York City. His childhood nickname was Lil Shaft. When Martin was 8 years old, his parents separated, and according to relatives, his mother pinned a note to his shirt, placed him on a bus, and sent him to live with his grandmother. While a teenager, Martin was displaced, yet when family left the Bronx permanently and moved to a subsidized housing project in Brooklyn, Martin would call the unit 11H, Building A, in the Monument Walk section of the Raymond V. Ingersoll houses, his new home. Not long after, he was introduced to Islam by way of the 5% Nation and adopted the name Shamik. Martin's criminal activity as a teenager earned him a stint on Rikers Island in the C-74 Juvenile Detention Center, where he would meet other future criminals such as the convicted drug trafficker James Jimmy Hinchman Roseman. After his release and return to Brooklyn, Martin is said to have aligned himself with the Supreme Team street gang based in the Fort Greene, not to be confused with the Jamaica Queens-based drug organization. It was around this time that Martin obtained the nickname 50 Cent. There was some dispute as to how he acquired the name. Some attribute the name to his greed, attesting to the idea that he would rob someone for any amount of money, no matter how little the sum. One rumor has it that Martin once entered a dice game with only 50 cents stake and ultimately won $500. Still, others believe the name to be an allusion to his slight size. Martin was known to be armed at all times with his two favorite long barrel handguns, a Colt 45 and a .357 Magnum. Martin declined to become a drug dealer in the then relatively new crack cocaine trade, instead preferring to obtain money through strong-arm robbery. He would soon go on to assemble the collective known as Brooklyn Zoo, a group of teens who reportedly targeted blue-collar workers, college students, liquor stores, pimps, and especially intoxicated club patrons for robbery. They collected cash from fencing designers, purses, and gold chains stolen from partygoers at the Latin Quarters, Harlem World, at the Roxy nightclubs in Manhattan. They were also known to have preyed on customers at events, attendees at the Brooklyn Armory, the Empire Skating Ring, the Albee Square Mall in Brooklyn. Martin is said to have attended the Rick James concert at the Meadowlands Concert Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, just so that he could rob other fans in attendance. Martin gained widespread notoriety after allegedly robbing several members of the hip-hop industry. His victims included members of the rap group Houdini and the teenage James LL Cool J Smith. Reportedly, Martin approached Smith in the parking lot of a White Castle fast food restaurant in Brooklyn and appropriated the young star's solid gold rope chain at gunpoint. According to the locals, Martin also had a violent run-in with Jason Jam Master J Mizell of Run DMC. A confrontation between his Brooklyn Zoo crew and Mizell resulted in a shootout between Martin's group and the Hollis crew, a stick-up gang from Mizell's neighborhood. Martin's association with rappers wasn't always criminal or hostile. Eric Barrier of Eric B. and Rakim was a friend of Martin. The two developed a friendship in 1986 and became so close that Martin became a member of Paid in Full Posse, which also consisted of members William Rakim Griffin, Eric B. Barrier, Barrier's brother Ant Live, Griffin's cousin Jason Riley, Rob Garcia, Keith Money Green, Supreme Magnetic and his brother, Rap AJ and Benjamin Killer Ben O'Garrow. Martin was featured in a photo with other members of the Paid in Full Posse, alongside the rap duo and others and criminals, on the back of the cover of Eric B. and Rakim's debut album, Paid in Full. His title ironically recounts the lifestyle embraced by Martin that Rakim avoided by pursuing a hip-hop career. Upon his return to New York, Martin moved into his girlfriend's Precious Goldston's apartment in the Albany Houses housing project located in the Crowns Heights section of Brooklyn. Shortly after the move, Martin was shot while at the Albee Square Mall and as a result took to wearing a bulletproof vest. Ultimately, and despite the penchant from wearing body armor, gunshot wounds were his cause of death. He was shot on October 20th, 1987 on the stairway of his girlfriend's project building in the Albany Houses and died from hemorrhaging in the Kings County Hospital 4 days later, according to the autopsy. He was 23 years old. Paid in Full was released 3 months later on July 7, 1987. Former associate Julio Wemo Acevedo was convicted of first-degree manslaughter and sentenced to a minimum of 8 years in prison for Martin's killing. Acevedo maintained that he was coerced into committing the killing by enemies of Martin who kidnapped a close family member and threatened to murder both Acevedo and his family if he refused. The then 18-year-old Acevedo, a member of Martin's crew, is reported to have come by the 13th floor apartment before leaving with Martin around 10 p.m. that night. He was fatally shot. Martin apparently felt secure enough with Acevedo that he chose not to wear his bulletproof vest. Martin was found later that evening on the 7th floor, laying bleeding from wounds to his head, chest, and stomach. Despite all the considerable wealth Martin accrued from his criminal exploits during his life, his family was only given his gold teeth upon his death. According to relatives, his safety deposit box was usually stash spots were found completely empty after his demise. In keeping with the common practice at the time for New Yorkers who couldn't afford local burials, Martin's body was sent from Brooklyn to Staten Island and he was interred with a mass grave with 4 other people. Initially, Acevedo was convicted of murder, but his conviction was overturned when a cooperating witness supported his claim of being coerced into killing Martin. He accepted a manslaughter conviction and was awarded a sentence of the time served based on the informant's testimony. During his time on the street, Martin is said to have served as a mentor to Brooklyn gangster Kelvin, who is rumored to have inspired some of the lyrics from then aspiring rapper Sean Jay-Z Carter. After his death, Martin served as an inspiration to Queens, New York native rap superstar Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, who adopted his moniker in an effort to solidify his street credibility. Initially, Martin was buried without a tombstone, but according to family members, 50 Cent volunteered to finance one as a token of respect and appreciation for Martin's legacy. Martin's family alleged that Jackson ultimately reneged on the promise and revealed that his $9,000 unique red granite monument was paid by Martin's old friend, James Jimmy Henchman Roseman. Martin garnered a reputation for walking, not running, away from robbery scenes. He was said to have never even used a getaway vehicle.